Every single one of us has two versions living inside, the one that wants to rise and the one that wants to rest. One that dreams and one that doubts. One that pushes forward and one that finds excuses. And the truth is, your life is a reflection of which version you keep feeding. Every day you wake up, you step into a silent war. The battleground isn't out there, it's in your mind, your emotions, your habits, your beliefs. The war is between the version of you that knows what you're capable of and the version that keeps you stuck where you are. The weak version of you is comfortable. It doesn't like pressure. It doesn't like discomfort. It doesn't like accountability. It loves shortcuts. It loves distractions. It loves to say, I'll start tomorrow. That weak version will convince you that mediocrity is fine, that average is acceptable, that good enough is enough. It'll whisper that success is for other people, not you. And the longer you listen to that voice, the smaller your life becomes. But the truth is, you were not created for average. You were designed for dominion, for greatness, for impact. That weak version of you is not your identity, it's your excuse. It's the old program running in your mind built on fear, doubt, and self-sabotage. Every time you delay your dream, that weak version wins. Every time you settle, that weak version gets stronger. Every time you give in to comfort, you're building a cage around your potential. But something inside you knows there's more. You feel it when you lie in bed at night thinking about what your life could be if you stop playing small. You sense it when you see someone else living the dream you've been putting off. That voice deep within you, the one that says you were made for more, that's the real you trying to wake up. That's the warrior you've silenced for too long. See, the weak version of you thrives on indecision. It grows when you delay, when you doubt, when you let emotions rule your discipline. It convinces you that change is too hard, that growth is too painful, that consistency is too demanding. But that's the deception, because pain is inevitable, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One builds you, the other breaks you. The weak version of you will always choose the easy path, but the easy path never leads to greatness. To kill the weak version of you, you first have to identify it. You've got to be brutally honest about where you've been letting it win. Look at your habits. Are they serving your vision or feeding your comfort? Look at your thoughts. Are they empowering you or draining your drive? Look at your environment. Are you surrounded by growth or by gossip? Because every weak version needs permission to live. It can't survive unless you keep feeding it with excuses, fear, and procrastination. Once you identify it, you've got to confront it. That means you stop blaming circumstances, you stop blaming people, you stop blaming timing, you stop saying someday, you take ownership. You stand in the mirror and tell yourself, no more. No more playing small. No more pretending that fear is reason enough to stay stuck. No more wasting energy on what doesn't build you. Because if you don't take responsibility, that weak version will always run your life. But killing that version isn't a one-time act. It's a daily decision. Every day you wake up, it tries to resurrect itself. It shows up when you're tired, when you're discouraged, when you don't see progress. It whispers, you deserve a break. You've done enough. That's when you got to remember, discipline is not about what you feel. It's about what you decided. The strong version of you doesn't move by emotion, it moves by commitment. It doesn't need motivation, it relies on mastery. Killing the weak version of you means starving it, refusing to feed it your time, your energy, your focus. It means saying no to things that drain you. It means walking away from habits that keep you small. It means cutting off people who enable your excuses. It means deleting distractions, silencing negativity, and replacing self-pity with self-respect. You can't heal in the same environment that broke you. You can't grow while feeding what's holding you back. It's not easy, but it's necessary. Because every time you resist the urge to quit, the strong version of you gets stronger. Every time you push through when you don't feel like it, you're building the muscle of mastery. Every time you do what's right instead of what's easy, you're burying the weak version deeper. Until one day, it's gone. And what's left is the version of you that was there all along, disciplined, powerful, focused, unshakable. That's the real you. The one that doesn't just talk about dreams but turns them into reality. The one that doesn't settle for potential but produces results. The one that doesn't wait for opportunities but creates them. The one that leads, inspires, and impacts. That's the you that the world is waiting to see. But first, You must kill what's been killing your purpose. The weak version of you is not your enemy, it's your test. It's the version you must conquer to unlock the greatness that's been dormant inside you. The battle may be silent, but it's sacred. Because every time you choose growth over comfort, every time you choose faith over fear, every time you choose purpose over excuses, you're transforming. You're rebuilding. You're becoming who you were always meant to be. Rebuilding yourself is not about pretending the old version never existed. It's about learning from what broke you and using it to build something stronger. It's about looking at your failures, your wounds, your mistakes, and saying, this is the foundation I'll build my greatness on. Because every strong structure begins with a broken ground. And before God raises a man, he first breaks him. He breaks the pride, the comfort, the illusion, so the real man can emerge. You see, transformation doesn't start when things are easy. It starts when everything hurts. It begins in the ashes of your disappointment. It begins when you've failed so many times that you have no choice but to face the truth. That's the moment when rebuilding becomes possible, because now your ego is out of the way. Now you can hear what life has been trying to teach you. You can't rebuild with pride. You can only rebuild with humility and hunger. The first step in rebuilding yourself is renewing your mind. You cannot construct a new life with old thinking. The mindset that got you broken cannot be the mindset that gets you rebuilt. You've got to unlearn everything that's keeping you small. You've got to challenge the beliefs that tell you what's impossible. You've got to rewire your thoughts so that discipline replaces doubt and purpose replaces pain. Transformation starts when you decide to think differently about who you are and what you're capable of. The mind is the architect of your future. If you rebuild your body but not your mindset, you're still weak. If you fix your finances but not your focus, you'll fall again. Everything you build outside begins with what you believe inside. The reason most people never rebuild successfully is because they try to change behavior without changing belief. They try to act different but think the same. But your life can't rise higher than your thoughts. If you see yourself as broken, you'll live broken. If you see yourself as chosen, you'll start living like it. Once your mind is renewed, the next step is rebuilding your habits. Habits are the blueprint of transformation. What you do daily becomes who you are permanently. You can't rebuild through occasional effort. You rebuild through consistent execution. That means no more emotional commitment, only intentional consistency. You show up even when you're tired. You work even when you're uninspired. You move even when it feels slow. Because the process is slow on purpose, it's designed to build patience, not pride. Rebuilding means accepting that progress won't always feel good. Sometimes growth feels like loss because you're shedding parts of yourself that don't belong in your future. The people you lose, the opportunities that slip away, the doors that close, they're not rejections, they're redirections. Every loss is construction in disguise. When something leaves your life, it's making space for something new to grow. Stop clinging to the debris of your past and start collecting the materials for your next level. To rebuild yourself, you must also master emotional control, because the enemy will always attack your emotions before he attacks your results. He'll make you feel like nothing is working, so you quit right before the breakthrough. But when you master your emotions, you become unshakable. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop living by feelings and start living by principles. The mature version of you knows that faith is stronger than fear and that obedience is stronger than emotion. Another key to rebuilding is discipline through discomfort. Nothing rebuilds character like doing what's necessary when it's not convenient. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. Every time you honor your commitments, you strengthen that bridge. Every time you break your promises to yourself, you weaken it. And here's the truth, you can't rebuild your life on broken promises. So you've got to start keeping your word, not to impress others, but to respect yourself. Rebuilding also means redefining your environment. You can't rebuild in a place that keeps reminding you of your past. You can't become strong surrounded by people who still see you as weak. You've got to change your circle. You've got to put yourself around people who stretch you, challenge you, and hold you accountable. You've got to distance yourself from those who feed your weakness and get closer to those who fuel your greatness. The wrong environment will suffocate your growth. The right one will accelerate it. And understand this, rebuilding doesn't mean rushing. Most people want resurrection without crucifixion. They want elevation without preparation. But God doesn't rush what he wants to last. He doesn't promote people who aren't ready for pressure. When you're rebuilding, don't despise the process. Every slow day is shaping your character. Every challenge is strengthening your foundation. Every delay is protecting your destiny. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. When you start rebuilding yourself from the ground up, people will notice, some will cheer, some will doubt, some will leave, and that's okay. Because you're not rebuilding for validation, you're rebuilding for vision. You're not living for approval, you're living for alignment. The strong version of you doesn't need to prove anything, it just performs. It moves in silence. It builds without broadcast. It grows without permission. Rebuilding yourself is a sacred process. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. It's about stripping away the lies, the fear, the laziness, the doubt, until only truth remains. And that truth is simple. You were born to dominate, to create, to lead, to impact. The weak version of you may have survived, but the strong version of you is about to thrive. So don't run from the process. Embrace it. Every broken piece can become part of your purpose if you rebuild with intention. Every scar can become a symbol of strength. Every failure can become fuel. And one day, when you look back, you'll realize that the version of you that once felt destroyed was only being redesigned for destiny. Before the strong version of you can rise, the old patterns that kept you stuck must die. You cannot build a new life on top of an old foundation of excuses, procrastination, and comfort. You've got to burn down the mindset that made you weak. Because every time you choose comfort over calling, you strengthen the chains that hold you back. The truth is, what's stopping you is not the world, it's the pattern you've been living in. See, patterns are powerful. They are silent routines that shape your destiny without your permission. You wake up, you think the same thoughts, you react the same way, you speak the same doubts, and then you wonder why your life doesn't change. It's because your habits are repeating your past. If you want transformation, you must interrupt the pattern. You must destroy the cycles that have you replaying the same story year after year. The first pattern that must die is the pattern of excuses. Every excuse you make becomes a brick in the wall between you and your potential. You can't pray for success and make excuses for discipline at the same time. Excuses sound best to the person making them. They soothe the mind but poison the future. The weak version of you looks for reasons why it can't. The strong version finds ways that it must. Every time you catch yourself saying, I can't, replace it with I will. The second pattern that must die is the pattern of procrastination. The weak version of you waits for motivation. The strong version moves because of responsibility. You can't rebuild your life if you keep waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect time is when you decide. The moment you act, the momentum begins. Every time you delay your purpose, you empower your doubts. The longer you wait, the weaker your belief becomes. So act now, not next week, not tomorrow, now. Another destructive pattern is the addiction to comfort. Comfort is the silent killer of greatness. It whispers that you're fine where you are when you were designed for more. The weak version of you loves comfort because it requires nothing. But comfort is a liar. It promises peace but delivers stagnation. It gives you rest but takes your progress. To grow, you must embrace discomfort as a friend, because the place that feels uncomfortable is the place where your future is being built. Then there's the pattern of comparison. Every time you compare yourself to someone else, you destroy your own focus. The weak version of you needs validation. The strong version needs vision. Stop watching everyone else's progress and start tracking your own. You can't walk your purpose while staring at someone else's path. What God gave them is for their journey. What he gave you is for yours. The moment you stop comparing, you start growing. Another deadly pattern is the pattern of negative self-talk. The words you speak to yourself determine the world you live in. If you constantly tell yourself that you're not enough, your life will reflect that belief. Your subconscious mind doesn't argue, it obeys. So if you feed it fear, it produces failure. If you feed it faith, it produces freedom. You've got to reprogram the way you speak about yourself. Talk like the person you are becoming, not like the person you used to be. Breaking these patterns requires awareness. You can't change what you won't confront. Most people live on autopilot. They don't even realize they're trapped in loops. You must become conscious of your habits, your words, your triggers. Every time you react the old way, pause and ask yourself, is this behavior serving my future or my past? The strong version of you observes before acting. The weak version reacts without thinking. Awareness is the beginning of transformation. Once you've identified the patterns, you must replace them with powerful principles. Don't just stop doing wrong, start doing right. Replace excuses with execution. Replace comfort with challenge. Replace comparison with gratitude. Replace procrastination with purpose. Replace fear with faith. When you fill your life with higher standards, the lower ones automatically fade away. You can't destroy a pattern by ignoring it. You destroy it by outgrowing it. Breaking patterns also demands spiritual alignment, because transformation isn't just physical or mental, it's spiritual. You can't break strongholds with willpower alone. You need divine power. You need to renew your heart through prayer, through faith, through connection with purpose. When you align your spirit with your mission, the old patterns start to lose their grip. What once tempted you now tests you. What once drained you now drives you. That's what happens when you're walking in purpose. And don't expect this process to be painless. Breaking patterns hurts. Your old identity will fight for survival. The mind will try to pull you back into the familiar, but that's the sign you're growing. Every time you resist the urge to go back, you strengthen the future that's waiting ahead. Growth feels uncomfortable because you're outgrowing who you were. The pain is proof that progress is happening. You've also got to guard your environment while breaking patterns. Because if you keep surrounding yourself with people who live by the same old habits, you'll fall right back into them. You can't break free while living in the cage. Sometimes the most spiritual decision you can make is separation. You have to love yourself enough to leave what's keeping you small. The right people will respect your boundaries, the wrong ones will resent them, but either way, you win. And here's the truth. Every new version of you will require a funeral for the old one. That means saying goodbye to some friendships, some behaviors, some routines, some mindsets. You can't carry the old you into the new season. The weight will break you. The weak version of you was fueled by emotion. The strong version is fueled by vision. The weak version sought attention. The strong version seeks purpose. The weak version avoided pain. The strong version uses pain as power. When you destroy old patterns, you're not losing anything. You're reclaiming everything. You're taking back your authority. You're taking back your time. You're taking back your energy. You're taking back your mind. You're taking back your destiny. Because you were never meant to live bound by limitation, you were meant to live free in purpose. And freedom starts with responsibility. So ask yourself, which patterns are stealing your power right now? What excuses have you made peace with? What habits are keeping you average? What voices are keeping you afraid? Then make a decision. Today is the day you break the cycle. Not when it's easy, not when you feel ready, but now. Because destiny doesn't wait for comfort. When you destroy the old patterns, something incredible happens. Clarity. You start seeing life differently. You realize you never lacked potential, you just lacked discipline. You never lacked ability. You lacked consistency. You never lacked faith, you just lacked focus. And when those align, everything changes. The weak version of you fades away, and the strong one takes its place, confident, committed, and unstoppable. The battle for your destiny isn't fought in your job, your relationships, or your bank account. It's fought in your mind. Before you ever win in life, you've got to win in thought. Every great transformation begins with a renewed mindset. Because the weak version of you was controlled by emotion, but the strong version of you is guided by principle. If you don't control your mind, it will control you. And a mind left untrained becomes a battlefield of doubt, fear, and limitation. To build an unshakable mind, you've got to understand one truth. You are the gatekeeper of your thoughts. Everything you allow to enter your mind becomes a seed, and every seed produces a harvest. If you constantly feed yourself negativity, you'll harvest anxiety. If you feed yourself doubt, you'll harvest hesitation. But if you feed yourself truth, discipline, and faith, you'll harvest strength. You become what you meditate on. That's why you must take authority over what you allow inside. The weak version of you believes everything it feels. The strong version tests every feeling against purpose. Feelings are indicators, not dictators. They can tell you how you feel, but they don't get to decide what you do. You may not feel like showing up, but the warrior mind shows up anyway. You may not feel like believing, but the warrior mind speaks faith anyway. Because the mind that wins is the mind that obeys discipline, not emotion. You must train your thoughts the way a soldier trains his body. Every day, your mind must go to the gym of self-control. You've got to exercise focus, stretch your faith, lift the weight of discipline, and run the race of patience. Growth requires resistance. Every challenge is a mental workout designed to increase your strength. Stop seeing obstacles as opposition, start seeing them as opportunity. The warrior doesn't fear the fight, he welcomes it because he knows the fight is proof of purpose. And here's something most people miss. Your environment can shape your mind faster than your willpower can. You cannot build a warrior's mindset while living in a victim's atmosphere. If you constantly surround yourself with gossip, complaints, and excuses, that energy seeps into your thinking. Protect your mental space like your life depends on it, because it does. The strong version of you must live in environments that stretch faith, not feed fear. One of the greatest tools to build an unshakable mind is daily meditation on truth. When you start your day, don't just scroll, speak. Declare who you are becoming, affirm what God has promised you. When you wake up and say, I am disciplined, I am chosen, I am focused, I am favored, you are commanding your mind to align with your purpose. Words are not empty, they are programming. Speak your destiny out loud until your doubts bow down to your declarations. The warrior mind also understands the power of focus. You can't win a war while distracted by every noise. Every distraction is an attack on your direction. The weak version of you chased every opportunity, every approval, every pleasure. The strong version of you stays locked in. You can't do everything, and you don't have to. You just have to do what God assigned to you with all your heart, every day, without compromise. Focus is the ultimate strength of a disciplined mind. But here's the key. The unshakable mind doesn't just think strong thoughts, it believes strong truths. You must root your mind in belief. You cannot think like a warrior if you secretly doubt that you're called to win. That's why faith isn't optional, it's foundational. Faith tells your mind, I don't see it yet, but I believe it's happening. Faith allows you to move forward when logic says stop. Faith gives you confidence in the dark because you know the light is already written in your story. The warrior mind also practices mental discipline, choosing what to hold on to and what to release. Not every thought deserves your attention. Some thoughts come to test your resolve. When fear speaks, answer with faith. When doubt whispers, answer with truth. When the enemy says you can't answer with, I already have victory, every mental battle you win in private prepares you for victory in public. You don't win when life gets easier, you win when your mind gets stronger. And understand this, building an unshakable mind is not a one-time event, it's a lifestyle. You don't master your mind by trying, once you master it, by training daily. The weak version of you lived reactively, the strong version lives intentionally. Every morning you decide who's in charge, your mind or your mission. Every time you choose focus over distraction, belief over fear, discipline over laziness, you're reinforcing your identity as a warrior. The mind of a warrior is also anchored in gratitude, because gratitude keeps you grounded. When you're thankful, you can't be fearful. When you're focused on blessings, you can't be burdened by scarcity. Gratitude shifts your energy from I have to I get to. It reminds you that progress is a privilege. And when your mind operates from gratitude, you attract more to be grateful for. The strong version of you doesn't complain about the storm. It thanks God for the rain that grows the seed. But let's be real, even warriors get tired. Even warriors face moments of doubt. That's when you must return to your source. You are not building your mind in your own strength. You're building it in divine partnership. Every time you pray, every time you reflect, every time you surrender your plans for God's guidance, your mind is renewed. The strongest minds are the ones that know how to rest in God's grace while still moving in faith. The unshakable mind is not fearless. It simply refuses to be controlled by fear. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act anyway. The strong version of you feels the fear and still moves forward, Because warriors don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them through obedience and discipline. You don't need to see the whole path. You just need to take the next step with confidence. And here's the final truth about a warrior's mind. It's built through storms. The calm doesn't build strength. The chaos does. You don't become unshakable by avoiding struggle. You become unshakable by enduring it. Every challenge you faced wasn't sent to destroy you. It was sent to develop you. Every heartbreak, every loss, every setback was training your mind to be steady under pressure. You've been through fire, not to burn, but to build your resilience. So declare it. I will no longer think small. I will no longer shrink to please. I will no longer let fear write my story. My mind is aligned. My faith is firm. My focus is clear. I am becoming the version of myself that God created before the world doubted me. I am not controlled by circumstance. I am guided by calling. I don't move by sight. I move by spirit. I am unshakable, unstoppable, and unbreakable. When your mind is right, everything else follows. Because once your mind believes, your actions obey. Once your thoughts align with truth, your future starts to reflect power. You can rebuild your body, your business, your relationships, but if your mind remains weak, it all crumbles. That's why this part of the journey is sacred. The real transformation doesn't happen when you look strong, it happens when you think strong. So kill the weak version of your thoughts. Rebuild your mind on faith, discipline, and divine truth. And watch how quickly your outer life rises to match your inner power. Because once your mind becomes unshakable, no storm can move you, no failure can break you, and no doubt can define you. Rebuilding yourself is not about becoming someone new, it's about becoming who you were created to be before the world tried to convince you otherwise. Every failure, every heartbreak, every season of confusion was not punishment. It was preparation. You were never meant to live average, to play small, or to survive in silence. You were designed to reign with purpose, to lead with conviction, and to walk with divine authority. But before you can step into that version, you've got to rebuild your foundation, and this time, build it right. The weak version of you built on sand. You built on approval, on comfort, on convenience, on other people's opinions. You built on emotion, not endurance. You built on the applause of others instead of the assignment of God. And when life tested that structure, it couldn't stand. But now you know better. Now you understand that real strength doesn't come from who claps for you, it comes from who called you. The strong version of you builds differently. You build on rock, on truth, discipline, faith, and purpose. Rebuilding yourself begins with vision. You can't rebuild what you can't see. If you don't know who you're becoming, you'll keep repeating who you were. Vision gives direction to discipline. The strong version of you doesn't just wake up and hope for a better day. You wake up and create it. You see yourself walking in peace, operating in purpose, commanding success, serving others, and leading with integrity. You see yourself whole, confident, and free. The clearer your vision, the stronger your decisions. Because when you know where you're going, distractions lose their power. But vision without identity will crumble under pressure. You must remember who you are. You are not your past mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not what they said about you. You are who God says you are, chosen, capable, and unstoppable. Every time doubt tries to whisper otherwise, you remind yourself that you were born for greatness. When you rebuild yourself, you no longer chase validation, you stand in truth. You understand that your worth was established before your first win or your first wound. The strong version of you no longer negotiates your value. Once you've reclaimed your vision and identity, the next layer of rebuilding is discipline, because purpose without consistency is potential wasted. The weak version of you relied on motivation, that emotional spark that comes and goes. The strong version of you relies on discipline, the structure that sustains when feelings fade. Discipline is the daily decision to show up, to train, to study, to pray, to work, even when no one sees. It's choosing progress over comfort and growth over gratification. Discipline is the bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. But discipline alone is not enough. You must also build faith, because the path of transformation will test you. You'll have moments when it feels like nothing is working, when you've given your best and see no reward. That's when faith steps in. Faith says, keep building even when the blueprint doesn't make sense. Faith says your breakthrough is being built behind the scenes. When you rebuild yourself with faith, you stop needing proof to believe you believe until proof appears. That's power. That's divine alignment. Now, as you rebuild, you've got to surround yourself with purposeful people. You cannot rebuild your temple while entertaining those who only want to live in ruins. The weak version of you tolerated distractions disguised as friendships. The strong version of you protects your space. You align with those who challenge you, sharpen you, and hold you accountable. You walk with people who are also builders of vision, builders of faith, builders of excellence. Because your environment is either empowering your future or echoing your past. And understand, this rebuilding is not instant. It's a process. The weak version of you wanted immediate results. The strong version of you respects the process. Every delay is developing your discipline. Every test is strengthening your foundation. Every challenge is shaping your capacity for what's coming. You're not just rebuilding for today. You're constructing a life that will stand decades from now. God is not in a hurry. He's in the business of building something eternal through you. So stop rushing your refinement. Every day you remain faithful, your future is being fortified. Another essential part of rebuilding is healing. You can't build power on top of pain you refuse to confront. The weak version of you buried your wounds. You worked hard, but you never healed deep. But the strong version of you understands that healing is not weakness, it's wisdom. You face your hurt, you forgive yourself, you let go of bitterness, and you reclaim your peace. Healing doesn't erase your past, it redeems it. Every scar becomes a story of strength. Every tear becomes a testimony of transformation. You can't rebuild yourself until you've released what was breaking you. Then comes obedience. The highest form of rebuilding is not ambition, it's alignment. Obedience means trusting the blueprint even when you don't understand every detail. It means letting go of your plan to make room for God's purpose. The strong version of you doesn't chase opportunity, you walk in assignment. You understand that divine timing will do more in one season of obedience than striving can do in 10 years of hustle. Rebuilding yourself in alignment means every move is led by conviction, not competition. Finally, rebuilding yourself ends with transformation. And transformation isn't about looking different, it's about being different. It's when the old triggers no longer control you. It's when your peace can't be purchased and your purpose can't be distracted. Transformation happens when you stop reacting like your past and start responding like your future. It's when you no longer identify as broken but as built. It's when people look at you and can't recognize the version of you that used to complain, quit, and compromise. You've rebuilt your mindset, renewed your faith, restructured your habits, and restored your identity. You've learned that the real power doesn't come from proving anyone wrong, it comes from proving God right about you. You were designed to dominate, to create, to lead, to elevate, but it took breaking to build that strength. It took losing yourself to find your real self. The pain that tried to bury you became the foundation that now carries you. So now you rise different. You walk different. You speak with conviction and move with clarity. You've killed the weak version, the one who waited, doubted, feared, and settled. Now you've rebuilt a warrior, a leader, a vessel of divine power. You've become someone who can handle the weight of your destiny. You've become someone who doesn't just survive storms, you command peace in the middle of them. From this day forward, live in alignment with what you've built. Protect your new foundation, feed your new mindset, honor your new discipline. Because the life you've rebuilt is sacred, it's not to be shared with everyone, only those who understand its value. You are not who you were. You are who you decided to become. And the world will now have to adjust to the version of you that no longer apologizes for existing in excellence. So rebuild yourself in power, in purpose, and in divine alignment. And when you walk into the next season, don't explain, exemplify, don't tell them what you've been through, show them who you've become. Let your present speak louder than your past. Let your consistency echo louder than your excuses. Let your transformation prove that when God rebuilds, he doesn't just restore what was lost, he multiplies what was possible. You are not rebuilding to return, you are rebuilding to rise. You are not becoming what you used to be, you are becoming who you were meant to be. So, stand tall, breathe deep, and declare it now. The weak version of me has died, and the strong, disciplined, purpose-driven, unshakable, faith-filled version is here to stay.